Let's dig deeper on this with Democratic Congressman Subramanyam of Virginia. He sits on the House Oversight Committee, which has been investigating the Epstein case. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. I understand that you're going to go meet with some of these victims in about 40 minutes or so. What are you going to ask them?
Well, first, I want to hear their stories, because in the end, they should have a voice in this entire process. I mean, the things that were done to them were absolutely horrific. Their families are going to be there. I mean, they went through hell and beyond. And so we want to hear from them directly on how they feel about this whole thing happening and what we can do to be helpful and give them a voice.
So when you hear Chairman Comer say that some of these conversations might get complicated, what does that mean? What do you think that means?
I don't know what he means either. It's very simple. All the president has to do is release all the files like he promised the American people, and this all ends. And we all get to see what the president has been hiding and what his involvement was in this and what Epstein and Maxwell did all these years. I think that's what the American people want, and so that's what we're pushing for. It's very simple.
What are you anticipating is going to come from the press conference with these victims, some of whom have never come before publicly? That's happening, I believe, tomorrow. With Congressman Massey and Congressman Khanna. Are you anticipating new allegations?
I'd love to hear. I actually don't know. I'm going to keep an open mind, but what I'd really like to see is what they want us to do, what is their wishes. If they want us to stop pushing this investigation, we should take that into consideration. But what I've kept hearing from victims is they want the files released. I want to hear what they know about the president's involvement as well, and the president's relationship with Epstein, whether they met the president themselves. These are some of the things I'd like to hear, but most of all, they went through a lot. And while the president and this administration meets with Maxwell and potentially cuts deals with her, we're going to meet with the victims and we're going to give them a voice. That's the difference.
Will you be signing on to this discharge petition that Massey and Khanna are pushing forward?
Absolutely. And every single member of Congress who wants to admonish what Epstein and Maxwell did and wants to see the truth and the release of the files should sign on to this petition. We should get every single member of Congress on it, but I don't expect that. I think we'll get all the Democrats. I think we'll get at least one Republican, Massey. I hope we get enough to actually put a vote on this, because the vote that the speaker is putting on the table is a completely worthless vote. All it's doing is asking the Oversight Committee to continue its investigation. We're going to do that regardless of that vote. And so what we don't need is political theatrics or political cover. What we need is real answers and real truth instead.
You've described what the administration is doing as a cover-up. Now, DOJ did hand over a first batch of documents to the Oversight Committee. Can you just describe for us what was in them in general terms? Just, was there anything that surprised you?
97% of the documents were already public, and the other 3% were basically designed to try to make the president look good or to try to basically put out messaging that the president wants.
How so?
And in the end, there was nothing useful in that file, right? What we were given. And what would be really nice is if they could release the list that they supposedly had on the desks of people in this administration and everything else that they promised over the past few years. I don't know why they're holding things back. This is just making them look worse. I have people coming to my office every day now asking about the Epstein files. This is on voters' minds. And so we want answers. It's my job to get real accountability from this administration, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
So the administration, and the date on this is important. During the campaign, we heard repeatedly from folks in Trump's orbit that there was a client list that the previous administration had been holding back all of this information. Then once they got in office, now they're saying there is no client list. Have you seen any evidence that would indicate to you that there is substance to the allegation that Jeffrey Epstein was the head of this conspiracy that involved powerful and prominent famous men who are still out there that haven't been held accountable for horrible things that they'd done to young girls?
I haven't seen anything myself, but I would like to see everything that the president has and this administration has and make that determination. But that's the problem, is that we don't even get all the information that the president has. All we know is the president was told that he was in the files, and then the president's buddy Elon Musk tweeted that the president's in the files, that's why it hasn't been released. So as soon as that happened, I asked for the files. Very simple, and never got an answer. Now we're all asking for the files. We're still not getting them. So I really want to know who's in these files, because no one should be above the law. That's why the Epstein case was so terrible, is because people like Alex Acosta let him off the hook all these years. He was above the law because of his money, and the president shouldn't be above the law either. No one should be above the law. We should hold everyone accountable for these crimes.
We're anticipating that a second batch of documents are going to be passed along in the coming days, I believe on September 8th, in a week or so. Do you believe that those documents are going to hold additional information?
I'm not optimistic at this point. Given the first release of the documents, they're selectively releasing files, most of which are public, and some of which are just meant to make the administration look good, basically. And so I'm not optimistic that these are going to be helpful. I think that what Massey and Connor are doing, that resolution to actually force the president to release the files, I think that is the best way to actually put pressure on this administration, because that's what should happen.
Zooming out, I'm curious about the politics of this, because you mentioned that Elon Musk was tweeting his allegations, which he has sort of since walked back. Musk, to be fair, tweets a lot of things, right? I wonder if you think there might be a cost to this for Democrats, because polling has indicated that the Epstein files, this whole saga, is most important to folks that are aligned with President Trump. And it's not clear that this would be the kind of issue that would peel them off from backing him. Do you think that there might be an opportunity cost for Democrats here?
I don't know, and I don't care. I think in the end, my job on the Oversight Committee is to hold this administration accountable and make it transparent, especially when they're supposed to be transparent. And so I'm going to continue to push. I know other Oversight Dems are going to continue to push as well. We wouldn't even be this far if we hadn't forced some of these votes and forced Republicans to act. And so I'd like to continue to push that, because in the end, this was a campaign promise for many years, right? He ran on this. And so he should be releasing the files, even if he's in the files, even if it implicates him, right? Let's see the evidence. Let's see him defend himself. And